にあたり注意すべき点があります。それは死神の存在です。死神に尾行がバレれば三上に教えると考えなければなりません。
しかし死神はノートに触ったものにしか見えないものに注意するというのは難しいな。
今日もライト君はこの部屋で高田アナと会う。
That's right, Mogi.
この密会を始めてすぐに高田アナにキラからの電話があり、監視カメラが外された。
Yeah.
その時まず思ったのは、これでは筆談はできる。
There you go. Perfect.
いや、そもそもなぜキラはこの密会を許している。何かが腑に落ちない。
You don't say. Go on, Mogi. Keep at it.
万が一筆談しているとしてやれることは。
Okay.
あまねさんと二人で話したわ。
何を？
あ、これライト君ピンチっすよ。
マスダ、お前何か喜んでないか？
ピンチ大ピンチ。
松田うるせえ。
彼女にはなかなか切り出せないだけで、ミサのやつ余計なこと。いや高田もだ。まったく女というのは。彼女には T の前にキラの裁きをさせていた。彼女が僕の知らないところでキラの力を持ち、
Damn.
僕がキラであることを知っていたので仕方なかった。でなければあんな直情型の女性は選ばない。
あまねさんがキラの裁きを。でも今は私。あまねさんは仕方なく。
I mean, that's true.
八神君に選ばれて。
He had no choice but to kind of.
で、あまねと高田、本当はどちらに？
それは二股なんじゃ。
二股ってお前、そんなことが許される？
Oh god.
僕じゃない。
静かにしろ。
キラなんか捕まればいい。
Oh boy.
私が八神君に協力することで二人が幸せになれるなら。
大逆転だ。さすがライト君。ミサミサとの二股からタッキーを協力させる方向に持っていくなんて。
Mogi's not celebrating just yet.
口元を映像に撮りました。三上の勤務する検察庁で休憩時の映像です。ここです。何か喋ってます。死神かだな。足元の紙くずに反応したようです。今ふとため息を。死神のと私た
It's being spoon fed.
あらわれやし。
Ah, okay, there's his out. So if Giovanni was to somehow.
ノートを渡したきり現れやしない。
三上は死神からノートを渡されたが、それ以来死神は三上についていない。
Is he gonna buy this?
なるほど。
じゃあ俺はホテルのチェックアウトに行って。
Go on, Mogi, go on.
お疲れ様です。大変っすね。ホテル取るのもチェックアウトも相沢。
Oh, sorry, Aizawa. They have the same haircut. I kind of confused them for a second. Okay. Some sort of breakthrough. Come on. Go check that notepad.
ない。つけたはずの爪痕が。4つのうち2つの爪痕がない。部屋はまだそのまま。従業員はここに入っていない。
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
メモが新しいものに変えられている。筆談。
There you go. Is it Aizawa?
何？ニヤニヤって直接話したい。
It is. It's gotta be.
ミスター相沢、お久しぶりです。はじめまして。
目隠しさせたまま始めましてもないものだな。
武器やカメラなどは持っていない。
では目隠しを取って構いません。
This should be interesting. His reaction to this young child.
じゃあこれはどうだ。2人は筆談をしている。間違いない。
ミスター相沢、余計なことはしないでください。
余計なこと。
もうキラとしての証拠を上げればいいという段階ではないんです。キラを止めるにはこの私がキラの完全なる負けを突きつけるしかない。
One final blow.
ミスター相沢、はっきり言います。あなた方はもう蚊帳の外なんです。今まで通りただ見張っていてください。
Chief Yagami.
ただ見張るだけ。
はい。しかし L を見張ることで意義はあるんです。そしてそれが私のシナリオに入って
Here's Mogi.
私にとって大きな飛躍の年となっています。
あ
もうあとわずかになりました。総合司会の高田清美です。よろしくお願いいたします。
This brings back a lot of good memories about
歌謡祭。
松田、砂漠報道と被害者のチェックは。
それは今年のトップバッター我らがミサミサの
Matsura needs to chill a bit.
何よ。
SPK だ。ご同行願いたい。
しかし何が
どういうことだ。
それも
茂木からは何も聞いてないぞ。
早く NHN に戻ってよ。そうでなくてもミサドタキャンの
ミサミサ、おとなしくしてください。
もっちなんでよ。
キラを捕まえるためです。抵抗せずに助かったミスターモギ。
Mr. Mogi.
相沢さんの話を聞いていなかったら抵抗していただろう。だがメモの話を聞いてしまった。
There you go. Come on, boys.
なんだと。
何のために。
念のためそれがミスターモギもアマネも心よく
God damn, this theme goes hard.
なんならつなぎますよ。どうぞ。
はいモギ。
ミサが反対したんだよ。でもモッチーがじっとしてた方がいいって。
第二のキラだった可能性のあるアマネはとりあえず排除しておく。八神ライト、この行動の意味は分かっているはず。
Oh boy. Oh boy. There you go, Mikami. Get them gains. Oh, he's gonna go into his... Yep, he's gonna go into his bag, isn't he? But again, he's covered his bases, right? The Shinigami hasn't been following me since giving me the book, the notebook.
はい。入会してから4年間、きっかりその時間に元旦すら休んでいません。
There you go,
私
Mikami.
の会員になり、
31日にジムでノートに触ることは可能ですか。
もし死神がついていたら私が死ぬ可能性もありますよね。
はい。それを確認するためにやってもらうんです。怖ければレスターにやってもらいます。
わかりました。やります。
Yeah, I was gonna say, imagine...
死神がついていたら、いや、それならすでにこの時点でもう触るしか。
Oh my god, imagine the paranoia, right?
ノートに触れることに成功しました。今のところ死神は確認できません。
レスター指揮官、ミスターモギにつないでください。ノートのルールでは死の前の行動を操れるのはどれくらいですか。
Ah.
四つ葉が実験したデータによると23日間。
では可能性として、
Yeah.
ジェバンニがすでに操られていて死神はいないと言わされていることも
But-
考え、エルと対峙するのは24日後にジェバンニが生きていた。
24 days? It's a long time.
T に全て確認できたら清美に伝えるよう指示を。そしてそのメッセージが来たら僕に電話でもメールでもいいから。
写真？
はい。実際にどう書いているのかを見たい。書き込みに何か規則性はないか、癖はないか、どういうノートなのか、そのすべてを事細かにこの目で見てみたい。
どうだニア。
はい、ジェバンニはよくやってくれました。 筆跡も三上の検事としての長所と一致。三上が書いたものに間違いありません。これならいけます。
Oh, all right, folks. First episode back. Decent episode to come back to. I mean, by the end of it, you saw that I did not want that to end. I was really into it. But in that sense, this whole notion of there just being 3 episodes left, just the 3, it's a bittersweet feeling. Because I feel like I need so much more time for this arc, essentially. Like, as of this point. Now, I don't want to sound like a broken record because I've mentioned this, in the last few, before this was kind of on break, this whole notion that that this requires much more than, the 4 or 5 episodes I had left, right? And at this point, 3 episodes. And, I maintain that. It certainly needs more than 3 episodes. Because as of this point, at the conclusion of this episode, I don't see how this wraps up in 3 episodes. I mean, of course, the logical, thought process here has to be that these next 3 episodes, or perhaps even the last 2 episodes, are going to really expedite things, right? As much as you can, I suppose, in a 22-minute time span of an episode, essentially. I feel like as of this point, if I had like 8 episodes to go, then then it could have been like, okay, yeah, I could see how that's enough time to kind of wrap this up. But only the 3 to go, right? So it's really going to have to move quick. Now, this is not something I usually ask for, but in this case, in this special situation, I suppose, given that it is about to end, maybe they could have added a bit more into this episode, right? But yeah, like I said earlier, perhaps these next 3 episodes might have that. Nier's approach, keeping a distance and kind of investigating from the outside. I think that was the right approach up until this point, for sure. Right, keeping that distance. In the first half of the series, you have L and Light Yagami. They're almost inseparable at one point because that's by design. L wanted that, right? Here you have Nier kind of taking a bit of a different approach. Not that he knows the exact approach L took, but it's being depicted to the audience here that Nier is being a bit more, again, standoffish. Not standoffish, but maybe a bit more cautious and not trying to put himself in the limelight. Be it showing himself to like Yagami and then subsequently any potential Shinigami as well, right? Now at the end there, you see that Mikami certainly did his part, right, as he was instructed to reconstruct or construct a replica of the Death Note as close as possible to the original. I mean, and then of course he fills out the names as well and the fake, right? And of course, as Nier mentioned, it matches his handwriting. This is certainly his handwriting. But of course, us the audience knows it's the fake. It's the fake, right? And of course, as I mentioned in the last episode's discussion, I believe, it's by design, right? To be this easy to shadow. But that being said, now that they know Mikami, essentially they know Mikami's routine inside and out, right? They know everything about Mikami at this point. Essentially, he's quite predictable, right? He has become quite predictable to the SBK. Everything is done by the book. Everything is quite rigid in terms of his schedule and his activities, right? Again, predictable at this point. So, there is also the potential for a slip up, right? There really is, because now that they know him inside and out, anything, absolutely anything that is even the tiniest bit of a deviation or something that appears to be a bit irregular in comparison to his usual activities and the timing of those activities. I mean, they made it really clear to us, the audience. They know this now, right? They know this now. So anything like that, any sort of deviation, it's an immediate red flag. And, speaking of red flags, the whole, caught in 4K moment, zoom in, enhance and all that, as he's kind of speaking to himself and really spelling it out and spoon feeding, of course, establishing that the Shinigami has not been following him since he was given the Death Note or the notebook, right? Kind of covers your bases. Because again, it's all part of the plan. It's deliberate. He was essentially expecting Giovanni, who I'll come to next. You know, Giovanni and Aizawa, and the focus on those two, I really, really appreciated that. But, you know, he essentially expected Giovanni, or whoever, right? Essentially, he expected them to do all this for that reason, right? To kind of confirm that indeed this is the one that is using the Death Note at the moment, Mikami. But yeah, you know, is there a slight possibility that, you know, him being caught in 4K on camera, you know, kind of speaking to himself, maybe that is, there is a tiny potential of that actually him slipping up, but, you know, it's just so ridiculously clear, and, you know, such a major red flag that he's spelling it out and spoon feeding it, that, you know, it is by design. But then, you know, speaking of things being a major red flag, unmissable red flag, you know, the cameras, the whole, you know, Takada Kiyomi and Light Yagami meetings, but no cameras allowed. You know, taps are fine, you know, sound is fine, but no cameras allowed. I mean, it's such a major red flag. So, you know, I was happy. I was glad that they finally had Aizawa kind of question that at this point. So, you know, in that sense, it's great to see the normal people, the regular investigation taking place through Aizawa, right? I mean, you know my thoughts about the Kira task force and how incompetent they've been depicted in this anime, in this story, at least for you know, majority of the anime. So it's great to finally see the focus shifting to someone like Aizawa, right? Really in the investigation now. You know, doing his own thing, right? He's surrounded by these geniuses, be it like Yagami, be it N, right? All these people, all these incredible people, and before that it was L. So it's great to see the focus shift to, or not, it doesn't completely shift just to Aizawa, but I love that there is a bit of focus on that now. A normal investigation as well. And then, of course, you have Giovanni, right? Wow, I mean, he's integral to a lot of this information that's kind of coming out and coming to end, essentially. Him being out there is so important at this point, right? And he's putting himself at danger, right? You know, those moments of him before he touches the Death Note, so tense, and understandably so, right? And then, you know, anytime he does go back the second time to take photos, again, you know, there's that sigh of relief, right? Because that, you know, that concern, it's always there for him, right? That any second Shinigami could appear, right? It could just appear out of thin air and I'm done for. And then you see that even N or Nier does have a manipulative side to him as well, right? He notices a bit of hesitation on the phone after his request of Giovanni to go touch the notebook, right? And then he kind of breaks in and he said, "Oh, maybe I'll send the other guy in if you're not up for it," right? And of course, Giovanni almost immediately replies, he's like, "No, I'm good. I'll do it." But yeah, you know, great credit to Giovanni. I think his tailing of Mikami could end up being crucial, right, in these next 3 episodes. Like I was saying earlier, to them, Mikami has become predictable now, right? And that's all because of Giovanni tailing him and putting in the hours and putting his life at risk, as far as he knows, right? They don't know that it's a fake. And then, of course, you know, circling back to Aizawa, you know, to him, I guess the major confirmation here is the whole notepad plant that he had, or the notepads he planted. And then, of course, you know, upon checking them again after the meeting, the markings are gone, right? Or at least a couple of them are gone, meaning they've been replaced. But, you know, that in itself is also kind of, the fact that Light Yagami had replacement notepads that he switches out, right? After using the ones in the hotel room, couldn't he just use those in the first place, right? And then just pocket them again. It doesn't appear that they're being patted down or being searched, right? So I really don't understand that aspect of it. You know, is this just as simple as him not thinking of it, just kind of slipping up? You'll have to let me know, because I'm pretty sure they're not patting anyone down, right? Certainly not like Yagami or Kiyomi Takada. The fact that he can bring it in in the first place, have a replacement ready to switch out. That means he could have just used that in the first place and not, run the risk of kind of upsetting the balance of the room. But then again, since the time skip, I suppose, yeah, it's been noticeable that there are these moments of Light Yagami being a little bit rusty, slipping up. But, that means that as of this point, most of the task force, do I count Ide as someone who highly suspects Light, right? He's certainly open to the idea, and he was open to Aizawa going after this or investigating this further. He implored him. I mean, in fact, I believe Ide even told Aizawa that, he has respect for him, or he wants to be on the same team as him, right? That's one of the reasons he kind of came back, I believe. But yeah, a solid chunk of the task force, including Mogi, right, who's clearly on Aizawa's side on this, they believe, yeah, Light Yagami is highly suspicious at this point, meaning that immediately, just by design, puts them at risk now, all of them. Even if Matsuda believes that he's innocent, Light Yagami that is, he's still at danger, much like everyone else in the task force. And knows this, and Nier knows this. Now speaking of Misa and Kiyomi Takada, I kind of wanted to comment on the depiction of female characters in this anime, in this story. Listen, it's fair to say it's not the greatest, right? And this isn't new. This has been noticeable really early on, or it was noticeable really early on. I feel like they're kind of used as an obstacle, right? Or depicted as an obstacle for Light Yagami to get over. And I feel like a lot of times they are utilized to kind of showcase Light Yagami's intelligence, his intellect, and how he gets one over them. That's my reading of it, and I don't think I'm saying anything too shocking here. It's not that subtle, is it? I do feel like a majority of them have been used or manipulated by Light Yagami. They have, right? And it's happening right now. It continues to happen right now through Takada Kiyomi. I think it's fair to say that Light Yagami perceives them to be less intelligent, easily manipulated, perhaps overly emotional. Now listen, I'm not saying that he doesn't think of men in this manner. He certainly does. Essentially everyone's beneath him in that sense. But I do feel like it's noticeable that some of the major female characters of this anime are kind of utilized in this manner, as I mentioned earlier. As of this point, I still don't buy Naomi going down like that. I just don't. I've read it all. I've read the arguments and I've read the back and forth, and I've commented on some of those comments as well. Again, it was an incredible episode 7, I believe, Overcast. But I never bought that. I just didn't. So I don't know. Maybe give me your thoughts on this. Surely I'm not the first person to ever bring this up, right? The depiction of the female characters in this story or anime. Surely many have brought this up because there's enough there for it to be noticeable, right? But yeah, give me your thoughts in the comments. And I've got to say, I was quite surprised not to see Mello show up in this episode. I mean, surely he'll show up in the next episode, it being the third last episode. And that, like I mentioned, he's a maverick. He's like the unknown, right? I feel like the moment he comes back onto the scene and makes his big move, I'm sure he's thinking of his next big play. I feel like he'll shake things up. I'm sure, it's some sort of bombastic plan. It'll be a bombastic return from Mello, something that's going to affect the end game. At this point, 3 episodes left. Surely it is going to be something that really does affect the end game, and affects both Light Yagami and En, right? Both those sides. And yeah, I think that's about it for this one, folks. Just a few more things. The New Year's concert that was supposed to happen, and Misa didn't show up. I was in the middle of saying that it really reminds me of, and then I had to kind of stop because the dialogue was on screen. I was about to say that it reminds me of those legendary days of Pride holding their New Year extravaganza cards, essentially, right? And then by the end of the night, they would bring all the fighters into the ring and then do the countdown, right? In a fully sold out Saitama Super Arena. It usually used to be at the Saitama Super Arena. Great memories, man. Great memories of that. If you do want to check it out, just type in Pride FC New Year's and you'll see all kinds of fun moments. It's a big part of my childhood. And you know, for a lot of people, anime is the reason they're really infatuated with Japan, and the love for Japan and culture and just the place itself. For me, it was Pride FC back in the day, right? I'm sure I've told that story before. I'm pretty sure. Ooh, one last thing, the 23-day rule, you know, Mogi confirming it. I suppose that's one of those off-screen developments, right? During the Yotsuba arc, Yotsuba Corporation arc. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, I don't remember seeing the task force actually confirming that or getting to confirm that. Clearly they do, right? As Mogi just confirmed. So I suppose it could be an off-screen plot development. You'll have to let me know. But yeah, I think that's about it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length or early access to the next episode right now, consider checking out the Patreon page. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to my social media, Twitter specifically, if you're into that. Right then, thank you for joining me and thank you for your time. And I do hope to see you again soon for the third last episode of Death Note. Until then, take it easy.